Welcome back. Once again, it's your boy Abdul, the Health Man. I'm here to give you another great topic, another great show on the Grown Folks Podcast, Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Grown Folks Podcast. I'm your host, Abdul, the Health Man. I'm hoping to give you this good information. Today, we have a different topic. This topic was thought about or was brought to my attention because I had a customer the other day, and he was a stewardess. Is he a stewardess? I guess he was a stewardess, okay? And he talked about...
A steward.
A steward. Thank you. I knew it wasn't a stewardess. I knew it was a steward. He was a steward. And he talked about how flying affects your immune system. And he told me something that I've never, ever heard. So I had to do my homework, and I'm bringing this to you. How does traveling on an airplane affect your immune system in your body? Okay? How does traveling on an airplane affect your immune system and your body as a whole? And why is this important right now? We are about to go into spring, and the next is summer. We are getting close to Easter. We are getting close to the Eid. Ramadan is going to be over in a couple of weeks, and there's the Eid celebration, Eid al-Fitr. People like to travel during this time. People like to travel during Easter. People like to travel. Spring break is coming up for most people's kids. People like to travel during these times. By car, by boat, by bus, and by plane. And by plane. And the travel by an airplane is different from all other travel, specifically because of what we're going to talk about. Okay? So this was brought to my attention. It was a steward who told me about this, and I said, I'm going to look this stuff up. And what he was explaining is that a pilot who travels, who flies long distance frequently, can only do it a certain amount of times during a month. By law. Can only do it by a certain amount of times by a month by law. So if he flies from New Jersey to China, he can only do it maybe 3 times a month. He cannot do it any more than that, because it negatively impacts his immune system so much that they have made laws in which he's not allowed or she's not allowed to travel that many times. So I said, whoa, I've never heard this. This is new on me. So I start to look it up. And this is what I found. The problems with traveling in the airplane. Okay? The problems with traveling in the airplane. Number 1, dehydration. Dehydration. If you look this up, you'll actually find all this. Dehydration. Now, why would you become dehydrated on a plane? Okay? Oh, I'm drinking water and all that. Why would I become dehydration? I live in the state of New Jersey. The average humidity in the state of New Jersey is 76%. I was unaware of that. But the average humidity, because we're close to the ocean, is 76%. The average humidity of a desert is 21%. That means if you go to Sahara Desert, that means you go to Sonoma Desert, if you go to the deserts in China, if you go to the desert in Argentina, the average humidity of a desert where it barely gets any rain is 21%. The average humidity of an airplane is 18 to 20%. Did you hear what I just said? The average humidity of an airplane, when you go on a flight, the average humidity of an airplane is 18 to 20%. That means the air in the airplane is drier than the desert. The air in the airplane is drier than the desert. Does that make sense? the air in the airplane is dried in the desert. Why is that? You're flying at 30,000 feet. The higher you go, the drier the air becomes. I'm going to say it again. The higher you go, the drier the air becomes. And as you go higher, up to 30,000 feet, the humidity in the plane becomes less and less, making a drier air. Now, how does this negatively impact your health? Dry air pulls moisture from the body. Have you ever noticed when you're on a plane, especially up in there, you're getting thirstier? All of a sudden, man, I need some water. I need some water. All of a sudden, your eyes can become dry. Man, my eyes are getting dry. Your skin is getting dry. Your mouth is getting dry. Sometimes people nosebleed on an airplane. People nosebleed on an airplane because the humidity is so low that it can crack the blood vessels in your nose. You've ever been in a house where it's so dry, you have dry air heat or dry heat, that it makes it hard for you to, you be like, man, my nose. You've seen people nosebleed from dry heat. It's hard to breathe in dry heat. Same way with high humidity, but it's hard to breathe in dry heat. When the humidity is very low, it makes the skin itchy. It makes it uncomfortable. Not only does it make it uncomfortable, dehydration negatively impacts the immune system. As I drink some water. Dehydration negatively impacts the immune system. Dehydration thickens the blood. It thickens the blood. If the blood is less moisture in there, you are dehydrated. It thickens the blood. It slows down the movement of white blood cells. Dehydration. It makes you fatigued. When you are dehydrated, you become tired. Dehydration. It affects your memory. Dehydration. All coming from not having enough fluid. And why do you not have enough fluid? Because the air around you is sucking it out of you. Because the average humidity in a plane is between 18 and 20%, where the average desert has 21%. Being in an airplane, flying at 30,000 feet, is like being in the driest desert you can be in. And the driest desert, I forgot the name of it, is in Argentina. Or Chile. It's Chile. But when you are in the cabin at 30,000 feet, it is pulling moisture from your body, making you fatigued, making you tired, making you thirsty, lowering your immune system. All from flying. That's number one. The number one problem is dehydration. Number two, how an airplane affects your body and your immune system. Cabin pressure. Cabin pressure. Oh, Abdul, but what do you mean by cabin pressure? When you are flying at 30,000 feet in the air, when you are flying at 30,000 feet in the air, you have a cabin pressure of about 8,000 feet in the air. So the misconception is people think that when you're flying at 30,000 feet, the cabin pressure is at 30,000 feet. No, that is not good for the body in general. But the average cabin pressure, because the cabin is pressurized, so you don't feel like you're flying at 30,000 feet, but they make it feel as though you're flying at 8,000 feet. 8,000 feet. I'm going to teach you something. I'm not even going to teach you something. Have you ever heard of in a stadium called Mile High Stadium? If you ever watch football or anything like that, if you watch basketball, if you watch baseball, they have three teams. You have the Denver Broncos, you have the Colorado Rockies, and you have the Denver Nuggets. They all play at an elevation of 5,000 feet above sea level. 5,200 feet. That's 1 mile up. They are a mile-high stadium. Denver Broncos Stadium is called the Mile High Stadium. One of the problems with playing at that high elevation, if you are not accustomed to that elevation, it takes a toll on your body. Athletes talk about when you go there, you become tired. It's harder to breathe. It zaps your energy. And that is at 5,000 feet above sea level. You are feeling the pressure of 8,000 feet above sea level. Those cabin pressure negatively impacts your oxygen levels. Okay? It negatively impacts your oxygen levels. You want to learn something? You want to learn something? Check this out. You feel jet lag not from the time change. You feel jet lag from the cabin pressure. I'm going to say it again. You do not feel jet lag because of the time change. You feel jet lag because of the cabin pressure. When you are dealing with cabin pressure of 8,000 feet above sea level, that is reducing your oxygen levels in your blood, making you fatigued. Not only are you dealing with dehydration, what we talked about, making you fatigued, or negatively impacting your immune system, you're feeling the pressure of being 8,000 feet above sea level, lowering your oxygen levels, negatively impacting your oxygen levels, making the body work harder, lowering your immunity. If you have a lung problem, negatively impacting your lung health. If you have a serious heart condition, negatively impacting a serious heart condition. You have a heart condition. The cabin pressure lowers the oxygen level, making it more difficult for the body to function properly. It's needed because you wouldn't want a cabin pressure of 30,000 feet on the body, but a cabin pressure of 8,000 feet is still negatively impacted. The Denver Nuggets last year won the NBA Finals. And one of the things they wanted to do is have home court advantage. They wanted to have home court advantage. Why did they want to have home court advantage? Because they knew that players coming from other cities traveling back and forth will weaken them because their bodies are not able to adjust to the extra pressure being 5,000 feet above sea level. They knew that. They played the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat, they are at sea level. Miami is at sea level. And then they fly from sea level to 5,000 feet above sea level, making it so hard on their body, making it difficult for them to breathe properly. It takes them, they'll breathe harder with less oxygen. It makes them fatigued. They get tired faster. Remember the Lance Armstrong, the cyclist who won 8 Tour de France? One of the ways he became so good, outside of using steroids, because he actually used this something called, I can't think of it. It's not a steroid, but it's basically injecting yourself with your own red blood cells. But one of the ways he trained was always in the mountains. He trained year-round in the mountains. And why did he train year-round in the mountains? Because when you train in higher elevations, your body compensates with the reduction of the increase in air pressure by making more red blood cells, carrying more oxygen around the body, making him a better athlete. So when he's doing the Tour de France up in the Swiss Alps and up in the French Alps, his body was already accustomed to that type of altitude. Where someone who did not train in that same environment will get tired faster. The same thing happens to your body when you go 8,000 feet cabin pressure. It makes you tired. It makes you fatigued. It lowers your oxygen levels because your heart is working overtime to keep the oxygen levels high enough in the bloodstream because of that extra pressure. Very difficult. So the cabin pressure is one of the main reasons why you have jet lag, as well as the dehydration, not the time. Flying from LA to New York should not make you feel so tired. But it does because of the dehydration and the increase in cabin pressure, making your body feel as though it's at 8,000 feet above sea level, negatively impacting your health. Okay, so that's number 2.